Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is on his way back home after a successful two-day visit to China, and he was accompanied by a high-level delegation. And over there in China, Prime Minister and his delegation had meetings with President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Keqiang, and also the Chairman Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Mr. Li Shanshu. And during the meetings, the two sides agreed to strengthen the strategic cooperative partnership between the two countries. And also President Xi Jinping said that China would continue to support Pakistan to improve the economic situation. And he also said that both the countries, China and Pakistan, should accelerate vis-a-vis the construction of the CPEC project. Similarly, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has emphasized the completion of the Gwadar airport, and he has been assured by the Chinese companies that this airport would be completed by the start of the next year. He has also invited the Chinese investment in various sectors, especially when we talk about the renewable energy and infrastructure as well. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has also thanked the Chinese authorities for their assistance in Pakistan's flood relief efforts also. A number of MOUs and agreements have been signed between the two sides, including the one for the RMB transactions between Pakistan and China. Now, how successful was this visit by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and how far-reaching impact would this have on the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and China? We'll be discussing these aspects with our panelists, but before that, our production team has prepared a report. Let's watch that.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif led high-level delegation accumulated magnanimous successes in realm of Pakistan's economic development and other mutually beneficial ventures incorporating both nations during his visit to China. In this regard, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Beijing met with representatives of Chinese companies, and these companies evinced keen interest in investment and joint ventures in Pakistan. On the other hand, these companies accepted the invitation from Pakistan to invest in mega projects including Karachi Clean Drinking Water Project. Moreover, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif invited the top-ranking Chinese companies to visit Pakistan and offered them to jointly work on his government's initiative of generating 10,000 megawatts of electricity through solar. Most significantly, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif met with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the Great Hall of People in Beijing. President Xi assured that China will continue to extend support to Pakistan for sustainable economic development and will harness its potential as a geo-economic hub. Both the leaders reaffirmed their commitment to the shared vision of peace, stability, development and prosperity. Moreover, they expressed their mutual commitment to the CPEC and highlighted that CPEC's high-quality development would further strengthen bilateral ties between Pakistan and China. The two leaders appreciated the signing of a number of agreements covering broad range of bilateral cooperation during this visit. In the realm of regional situation, the two leaders also discussed the situations in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and Afghanistan. President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif acknowledged that a peaceful and stable Afghanistan would promote regional security and economic development. They agreed that CPEC's extension to Afghanistan would strengthen regionally connectivity initiatives.
You just watched that report, and two other issues, including the Kashmir dispute as well as the stability in Afghanistan, also came under discussion during the meetings between the top leadership of Pakistan and China. Let me bring in our panelists today. We are honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Shakeel Ramay. He's political economist, visiting research fellow, Hebei University in China. Mr. Ramay, thank you very much for joining at Views on News. We really appreciate that. And on Skype, we are being joined by Mr. Asif Durrani. He's the former ambassador. Mr. Durrani, thank you very much for your time also at Views on News. And also from China, on Skype, we are being joined by Dr. Long Xingchun. He's President Chengdu Institute of World Affairs. Dr. Long, thank you very much for your time also at Views on News. We really appreciate that. Let me begin the discussion with you, Dr. Long. When we talk about this particular visit by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to China, especially after the 20th Congress of the Communist Party of China, how significant this visit was from the Chinese perspective?
Yeah, China and Pakistan are always a friendship and elder brothers. So in China, Pakistan very popular. We Chinese here will treasure Pakistan and highlight Pakistan's importance in China's foreign relations. And Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is one of the first foreign leaders to visit China after the uh, 20th National CPC National Congress. So that's important that Chinese government, Chinese leadership pay more attention to Pakistan and treasure China's relations with Pakistan because in the 20th National Congress of CPC, they decided and make decision and draw the design for the future of China's development, including foreign relations and economical relations with the rest of the world. I think Pakistan must be a very important partner for China, especially China are facing some problems, like shortage of laborers and overcapacity. With a 10 years construction of CPAC, Pakistan's infrastructure largely improved. So I think in the second phase of the construction of CPAC, many Chinese companies, factories can shift to Pakistan and set factories in Pakistan like Gwadar port that can create more jobs and facilitate the development of Pakistan and also increase the revenue for Pakistan, for the country. I think Pakistan must be the first very important destination for Chinese international investment.
Right, Dr. Long, your point is well taken. So, Mr. Durrani, when we talk about this particular visit, and especially after the 20th Congress of Communist Party of China, an unprecedented another term for Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping, what sort of a message do you think it sends to the world when it comes to the cooperation and the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and China?
I think the strong message is that both Pakistan and China are iron brothers. And soon after the 20th National Congress of China's Communist Party, this visit takes place. So Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is the first world leader who has visited China. So this has in fact further enhanced the importance of this visit and also underlines that both China and Pakistan, they have stood by each other through thick and thin, and they will not allow any other forces to meddle with this relationship, which both the countries have nurtured during the past 70 years. And this is the year that we are celebrating the 70th anniversary of our relationship. And this has been strengthened with the passage of time, which is the result that now you see that CPAC is a reality. And there were many doubts in the past about the CPACs, its efficacy and its likelihood to take off. But now we have attained the stage of taking off. First phase of, as Mr. Long has pointed out, the first phase has been completed. Now the second phase is about the specialized economic zones. First phase was about the infrastructure. Almost by and large, that infrastructure has been completed. Now you are entering the second phase, which is about the specialized economic zone. And in this regard, I think the capacity problem in Pakistan was the hurdle which delayed the projects. But hopefully, with the training which our people will get from China, I think we will be able to, in fact, overcome those difficulties and will be able to enter into the industrialized age commensurate with the 21st century requirement. Yes.
Right, Mr. Durrani, so specifically when we talk about the importance and the significance of this visit, of course, CPAC remains to be that very point of convergence between the two countries, and there have been a lot of emphasis regarding the acceleration of this project. Now, overall, when we talk about this particular visit, what do you think were the major successes and the key takeaways from this visit by the Prime Minister?
Yeah, in fact, your introduction, you have pointed out. First is that the Gwadar airport will, in fact, be functional by the earlier part of next year. And this would be a big achievement because Gwadar is the culmination point of the CPAC. And the transit trade would start, with full swing with the functioning and operationalization of the Gawada port. Second is that all those projects, which were in fact were waiting for further investment and all that, have been galvanized, and there is an agreement. And thirdly, it is important to note that Chinese leadership have given an unequivocal support to Pakistan and the CPAC projects because there were some voices, even within the country, that they were casting aspersions or suspicions. But those have been belied, and I think that is the strongest message which has been given with the Prime Minister's visit to China.
Right. Mr. Ramay, what's your take regarding Chinese help and support regarding the improvement in the financial and the economic situation in Pakistan? We've seen over the last many years, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, Pakistan's economy has been under quite a strain, and then we saw the recent devastating floods. Now, since there is a pledge by the Chinese leadership that they are going to continue to support Pakistan in this field, what prospects do you think lie in the future?
I will answer your question in two parts. First, if we have to discuss the cooperation from China or the opportunities offered by China, they're excellent. They are offering us more than our expectation. Even if you look at the flood, so they have offered us so big, he is the biggest contributor at this point of time. If we talk about the CPAC, they are offered us what we were expecting. You talk about industrialization, you talk about agriculture, you talk about science and technology, green growth, are you talking about new technologies? China is there. They're offering the opportunities. The real question is, the second part, will we be able to utilize or exploit those opportunities? That is a fundamental question. Because if we have seen the progress on the CPAC, I think we are at 4 or 5 years behind the progress. Because still we are talking about we have expedited special economic zone construction. Although it has been
there have been a number of problems, various factors which were involved in this particular thing, and that's why Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has clearly ensured.
It is not about only previous government. It is also about the previous government of PMLN. Those SSGs should be completed till that 2018.
But that is what exactly Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has also has said, that he had been working since he took office in April. So there has been a lot of work going on in order to remove all those hurdles, especially with the Chinese companies and the businesses.
I don't see there is any substantial effort. Because the biggest problem at this point of the time for to expedite the work on CPAC is we have to centralize the work of CPAC. Right now it's scattered. So every ministry is saying, so they are taking lead.
Perhaps this particular visit is actually in order to give that.
There was one hope. So I was expecting when they came into the power, they will strengthen CPAC authority. Because you need a strong body which can lead the implementation of the project. I give you one example, then it will be easier to understand. India started to establish special economic zones before China. But look at their economic status now. China is going to become the biggest market of the world, economy of the world. India is still celebrating only the 5 trillion. What is the reason? Because Indians, their bureaucracy the political system was like us. They are running around So they're in the circles.
Now, Mr.
In the
Ramay,
Chinese
I
system,
beg to contest this particular observation made by you. Let's talk about this specific government. Now, they took over the reins back in April. So then in June, we saw the devastating floods. So there wasn't that much of ample breathing space for the government. And that is why exactly Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said that this particular visit was actually focused on the revitalization of the CPAC project in Pakistan. And the second phase is going to usher Pakistan and China into a new era.
this is a statement. I'm talking about the actions. They have demolished the CPAC authority. They are not centralizing the work. And they are not, look, very clear on that. It is not about any government or any political party. It is about fact. Look, first phase of CPAC, which the PMLN celebrated, they implemented successfully. It was G2G, led by G2G, government to government. But the second phase is B2B, which will be led by the business, business to business. When a businessman comes to the Pakistan, he has to deal with 6-7 companies just to register the business. The company.
But there could be a possibility of one window operation. That is very much the
that
idea
is
which
not
is being
possible in this
discussed.
context. Look, you have the Federal Investment Board, you have the provincial body for the investment, you have the district
but
level.
Don't you think Pakistani authorities have that capacity of building a one window operation in order to cater to
This
the
is not
needs of
possible
this?
in this setup. Because if you have to take a connection of water or electricity, you have to deal with the district. The real problem is, Jawad Sahab, nobody want to talk about it.
Everybody is, but we are talking about it on the state
everybody
media.
is talking everybody is talking about the statements or slogans. We need to look, businessman does not care for the slogans. They want the result. If he
The number of steps Prime Minister has taken when it comes to the obstacles faced by the Chinese companies in the past, for example, on matters pertaining to the payments on the imported coal, and then there are pending dues worth 160 billion rupees, which have been cleared, and a payment of 50 billion rupees was made just yesterday.
You are talking about the past investment.
Just yesterday.
You are talking about of the first phase, G2G part.
Right.
I am talking about the second part, B2B.
So what is the solution?
Solution is you have to create under the Prime Ministership a strong centralized boundary which can make a decision and implement the decision. Here the Prime Minister has to play a role because he has to bring all 4 chief ministers and the head of the army and the judiciary under his cabinet and make it, this is the body which will take the decisions, and rest of everybody will implement, no hicks, no ifs and buts.
Right. Dr. Long, when we talk about the significance of CPAC project and its phase 2 in particular, so what sort of investment do you think the Chinese companies or the businesses or the investors can make in Pakistan? Either it is related only to renewable energy and infrastructure, or are there any other avenues as well?
In my personal opinion, I think that because Pakistan with 220 million population and its larger neighbors, so I think some labor-intensive industries may shift to Pakistan from East Asia countries like China mostly, that can create jobs for Pakistan, and also some new industries. Recent years, like India, Bangladesh attract so many foreign investment, but more than Pakistan attracted foreign investment because of the security concern. With the improvement of the security situation improved, I think many foreign investors, such as Chinese investors, business people, likes to go to Pakistan because Pakistan, the infrastructure improved a lot. I think the second phase of the CPAC, more industries and manufacturing factories should go to Pakistan, especially the coastal cities like Karachi and Gwadar. That can build some industrial park. You can, Prime Minister Sharif mentioned that he should learn some experience from China, like such as industrial park. With the construction industrial park, they can attract more foreign investment, foreign factories to develop its manufacturing. So many like mobile phone and also some like in computers, not only some traditional industry, but also some new industries that I just mentioned, like a computer and mobile phone. Chinese companies built so many factories and invest a lot in India, but now they face so many problems in India, and Indian government took some, serious measures to crack down Chinese companies in India. I think some Chinese investors, companies should shift from China, from India to Pakistan.
Now, Dr. Long, when we talk about CPAC, of course, it's a flagship project of the Belt and Road Initiative, a gigantic and a massive project conceived by President Xi Jinping. Of course, it's a transcontinental project. Now, when it comes to CPAC, there are certain voices from various quarters across the world who happen to be the critic of this particular project, and they opine that this particular project is more based on the dependency of Pakistan on China. Do you think it is a win-win situation for both the countries? And what specifically China gets out of it? Is it the shortest route to the warm waters, also using Pakistan as a transit route, and also saving that number of days and cutting that cost which is required if a longer route is used for the Chinese companies?
I don't agree with that the point of dependence, not independence, but also interdependence. Recent years, some Western countries like the U.S. and also some European countries, they mentioned that they emphasize they should reduce their dependence on China, on China's market, China's supply chain. But it's a mistake. It's wrong because it's interdependence. Independence, that means you get the profits, interest from the dependence. And for China and Pakistan, we are also interdependence. That means Pakistan and China we can benefit from each other. And on other side, China, Pakistan, we are our brother. We are mutual trust each other. Yeah. So we don't worry China obey Pakistan, Pakistan obey China. We're very highly mutual trust each other. We're very confident. So that independence is not a problem for countries. Japan, South Korea, even Singapore, many countries, like European countries, especially Germany, German Prime Minister will visit China upcoming days after the visit by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. German Chancellor will visit China. So German is also highly dependent on China, but they get a lot of profits from such dependence. So dependence is not a problem for countries. And also, it's also not a problem for Pakistan because Pakistan, we are always a friendship, our brothers. So we needn't to worry about the dependence. Dependence means you get profits, get benefits from that dependence. That's my personal opinion.
Right. So, Dr. Long, what I understand it is not one-way dependency of one country on another. It is actually the interdependence and mutually getting the benefit out of this particular project. So, Mr. Durrani, when we talk about the creation of employment opportunities because of CPAC project in Pakistan, so this creation of job opportunities is not going to be only for Pakistanis, but also for the Chinese citizens who are going to come and work with the CPAC related projects also.
Indeed, it would be as Dr. Long has alluded to about the interdependence. For instance, when you are installing industry in these specialized economic zones, if you don't have the capacity, you have to learn it. So from where are you going to learn? It would be naturally from the Chinese friends. When you learn from them, and then you'll be able to employ your expertise on industrial projects. Now, with China, there are going to be certain industries, including the IT industries, which will be shifted to the specialized economic zones. And then, more than that, in fact, while you have completed the infrastructure projects, the second phase about the specialized economic zones, you have to have trained manpower in all the fields where you are going to install your industries. So this is very important. And then we found out to our horror that we lack the necessary expertise. So that is why there are some delays as far as completion of those projects are concerned or initiation of those projects are concerned. So that action is being taken. And then now, when you look at it at the world map, when you see, for instance, interdependence, India and China, they had the problem 2 years ago. Now they have overcome that problem. But you look at the Indians, they had imposed sanctions on the Chinese companies, around 60 of them. But they had to withdraw that because after 6 months, they found out that, and much to their horror, that in fact India was losing in the business. And in 2000, 2020, when they had the bilateral trade of almost 90 billion dollars, it has increased to 120 billion dollars in 2 years. So you can see that how much interdependence as well as mutual interaction in trade field and in businesses that can accrue benefits for you. So here we have to be optimistic because despite all opposition from the external sources, we have been, in fact, determined to complete the projects. So those projects, especially infrastructure projects, have been completed. Now it is the transit trade which will actually take over. And then along the route, you have the specialized zones, which will ultimately, in fact, going to accrue benefits to you and generate close to 1 million jobs in the next 5 to 7 years. This is not a small achievement because those jobs will be highly skilled. Those are not the normal jobs. Those and if you have the highly skilled manpower, then that can multiply, and you will be in fact heading towards knowledge-based economy, which right now we have been in fact sticking ourselves to the traditional economy. So this is going to be a big plus. Of course, for that, persistency and consistency is important, and that's the name of the game. We have to be persistent. Yes.
So, Mr. Durrani, what can Pakistani authorities in specific do in order to provide an investor-friendly and a lucrative environment over here in Pakistan? Because as you already also mentioned, there are a lot of people talking about there are a lot of factors which actually impede the acceleration of projects of such sort.
First is capacity building. Second is rule of law. You have to ensure rule of law at all costs. There has to be no compromise. And third is that once you have decided, taken decision about a particular project, you have to take it to fruition. There shouldn't be any ifs and buts. That's very important. And lastly, you have to, in fact, look at the geopolitical situation in the region and then see that it is China and Pakistan actually they are providing stability at the geo-economic front. And if the business increases, it would be a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. It's just not China and Pakistan, but also the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa. It will also benefit Afghanistan and Central Asia. If India wants to join, they are most welcome. The door is open for them. But if they want to create hurdles, and then I think then they'll be creating difficulties for themselves as well. So it's an open offer from Pakistan and China as far as CPEC is concerned. Now Iran is another factor, and I think we should be in fact contemplating about having a fruitful cooperation with Iran as well. So here we have much bigger opportunities to in fact take the CPEC project farther, and not only among China and Pakistan, but beyond our borders, and then in fact share the benefits with our region, within our region, as well as beyond. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Durrani, your point is well taken. Mr. Ramay, when we talk about the second phase of the CPAC, it is very much founded on the base of special economic zones, and for that you need to increase the industrial base in Pakistan. How can Pakistan do that?
I told you in the first part. So Pakistan have to complete their special economic zones. That is the hard part of the story.
How to build the capacity?
I'm coming. I will answer you in the two parts. One is the hard part, second is the soft part. The hard part, on the hard part side, they have to complete the special economic zones. They have to really expedite the work. Right now, from the Faisalabad, which has been started by the Musharraf era, that is showing some progress, so business is going there. Rashiki is not to this stage they can attract the real time of investment. There can be agreement, but they cannot start work, Dubaji. So they have to put efforts to make it sure day and night. They make it clear everybody have to comply with this responsibility. The road construction should be done, electricity should be there, water should be there, gas should be there, and the forward and backward linkages of the supply chain should be there. They have to make clear to all the institutions, we want this on this date. If they are lingering on, we are just saying like that, we will complete, it's on the fast track, that will not serve the purpose. They have to give a date, and every institution they have to tell, look, you have to comply it. We want it to that date. One thing. On the softer side, two things. One is the policy, because after providing all these benefits, then you have to these hardware. You need policy which can attract investors. I was talking to some investors from the European country. Recent days I gave a lecture to top CEOs of some companies from Germany and the European countries. They want to also invest in CPEC. But the real thing is, do we have the policy comparison or the comparative analysis of our system, of our policies and incentives with other SEZs of the world? We don't have. Because when you have to convince an investor, you have to tell him, so this is the benefit I am offering in a true addition.
So, Mr. Ramay, when Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif talks about learning from the economic miracle of China, so can that very concept of the policy implementation be brought in Pakistan and also implemented here when it comes to making these special economic zones efficient?
Yes, we can, but for those things, we have to bring the fundamental change in the implementation strategy. As I said, China was making the SEZs or the investment very friendly. So when they have made a decision, so everybody have to comply. So that's why they had a centralized system where the decision are being made and given the task to everybody, you have to comply. That's why I'm advocating for a long time. We need to have a very strong centralized body to make it happen. Otherwise, political game will be going on. One party in the power, they will say, look, they are not doing good. Other party in the power, they will say, look, they are not doing good. So those, I think the blame game will impact the speed. That has been happening. When PMLN was bringing the CPAC, Imran Khan was just criticizing it. When Imran Khan was Prime Minister, the PML was criticizing, PP was considered criticizing. So we need to stop this and bring a very strong centralized body where you bring the people not only from the government but also from the opposition. Second thing, about the skill development. For skill development, if we talk about the new industry we are talking about, we are dreaming about to enter into the fourth industrial revolution. That is very far off. We can just talk about the third industrial revolution. We need skilled labor force. But look at the statistics of the Pakistan labor force and the institutions who are providing the skills. More than 55% institutions belongs to private sector, and most of them are beyond the capacity or the reach of the poor people or the middle class even. And second, the curriculum of those institutions, that is the biggest problem. So these things we have to do if we want to make a difference. But if we want, when you are asking that the first question about 20th National Congress and other issues, look, the one statement at Samarkand, the SCO conference which the President Xi Jinping said, that is very important to learn. He said, whatever would be the situation, China will be standing with Pakistan. So I think that statement is enough to describe the relationship.
Right, your point is well taken. Mr. Shakeel Ramay, political economist, visiting research fellow, Hebei University, China. Thank you very much for being in the studio on Views on News. Really appreciate your time. We were also joined on Skype by Mr. Asif, Durrani, former ambassador, and from China, Dr. Long Xingchun, President, Chengdu Institute of World Affairs. Thank you very much for your time, also for being on Views on News. Indeed, there was a lot expected from Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's visit to China, especially after the 20th Congress of Communist Party of China, and a range of issues have been discussed during the meetings between the top authorities of Pakistan and China. There is a lot of hope when it comes to the economic stabilization in the region and the cooperation coming from China for Pakistan's economic revival vis-a-vis CPAC Phase 2. There is a lot that needs to be done for the benefit and the prosperity of the people of the two countries when the CPAC is extended and is completed as per the dream of the leadership of the two countries. With this note, we come to the end of today's Views on News. Until the next one, take good care of yourselves.